The one from Fast 5 to Furious 7 was probably the peak of the franchise in terms of quality. I actually really like Fate of the Furious as well, but the general audience will probably see those three as highlights. 6 and 7 was when the car spectacle was put into overdrive, and it bloody worked. Tanks, never-ending runways, parachuting cars, and cars flying from building to building. Beautiful madness. Fast 5 had that too, but it matched with a great ensemble of characters, plus when compared to what came after a nicely grounded story that works. It's the main reason why I'm certain no matter what Fast X and 11 chuck at us, no space mission, no Dom defying the laws of everything known to man will ever top Fast 5. Fast 5 is not only my favourite out of the franchise, but one of my favourite films period. It's just a fun watch and I love looking back at this one when a new film is on the way. It does mostly everything really well, starting off by putting his family in a unique situation. This family is our all-time low, and the first 40 minutes does a good job of showing that. They're desperate, taking risky jobs to get by, and if being on the run wasn't bad enough, they're framed for killing US agents, setting Hobbs on them. Race is looking to take them out, and Mia's the expectant child. They're running out of options, it's time to go big or go home. Setting stakes is important, and Fast 5 probably does it the best. You get a great scene between Dom and Brian discussing fatherhood, plus Jordana Brewster and Paul Walker have a great chemistry as their characters. The threat of these people being ripped apart after all they've been through is enough. The thought of Brian not seeing his child is enough. Watching these characters we care about at this low point makes the film more compelling, which is where Fast 5 outshines its counterparts. The stakes nowadays are just too grand to latch onto, with the crew facing villains that desire world domination through nuclear fallout or hacking something that leads to something that we're meant to know is bad. Fast 5 gets it just right, by basing it in one location with a normal, corrupt business dude. Still big, but not crazy enough to the point where I'm wondering how a group of decent drivers are the planet's last hope. Now Fast 5 was always special for being the first film to truly bring the crew together. The four films prior lacked stability, but the titles demonstrating that the most, and to be fair that seems to be an issue the franchise refuses to fix. In the first you're following Dom and Brian, then Too Fast and Furious just Brian and Roman, Tokyo Drift is a whole new protagonist we would need to wait another trilogy of films to see again. Also gave us Han. Fast 4 was a little reunion but still lacked the joining of forces we see in Fast 5. So from the outside perspective this is already an event. But when we look at the film, Fast 5 also has some strong foundations to build off. Brian and Mia break Dom out in the safest, most intelligent way possible.
Amazingly resulted in no fatalities this afternoon.
And now they're all on the run, ending up in the favelas of Rio. And they're going to need to bring together the best the franchise has to offer to steal $100 million. This is the crew at the best. It's the first time we see these interactions, and each member does a good job of bringing their own flavour. I think as the films went on, the franchise failed to freshen up the crew. Now in instances they had no control, but especially in Fast 9, the crew feels stale, with no one really left to make an impact. You just got the musculars and the jokers, and they feel really separate. Dom and Letty are over here, and the rest are over there. Fast 5 gives us this group fresh. You got Dom being Dom, Han being the chill dude, Brian being the right hand that links them all together, Mia as an emotional core, and Roman is Roman. Already this group feels more varied, and that benefits the downtime we get with them, such as the burnt barbecue scene that's filled with comedy and heart, with the crew discovering about the child. Now, as we know, every good served protagonist needs a good antagonist to go up against, which gives us one of, if not the best addition to the franchise, Luke Hobbs. I believe that if you just make it the crew vs Rares, you still got a solid film, because when you think about it, Hobbs isn't even in the film that much. However, he still takes the film to another level. It's easily Dwayne Johnson's best performance. Like if you compare it to his other stuff, you might actually notice a difference. From the moment he lands, he is owning the scene, commanding the audience's attention. He's effective because he can be seen as Dom's equal. He has his own team that he cares about, he's intelligent, but most importantly, he kicks ass. The throwdown between the two is a nice build-up, with their egos drawing everything around them. The climax of the fight does a lot for the two as well. Before, Hobbs just wanted to take them down, no real care about their story. He saw himself as the bear man because he wasn't a criminal. But after Dom spares his life and then later saves it, allows him to change his stubborn viewpoint, making him a great asset for the team. For Dom, he originally lacked that restraint when it came to beating that dude within an inch of his life with a wrench. But this family has made him stronger, unwilling to kill an innocent man. That's probably the most character development you're going to get for either of these two, so we'll take what we get. When the final act brings these characters together, it feels right. Hobbs fits into the crew nicely, and seeing him take down Reyes, who was really responsible for what went down, brings this journey to a nice close. But whilst the cast was on top form, that's not really why we're in our seats. We want to watch cars do stuff cars ain't meant to do through the power of family. And Fast 5 nails that. When looking at the franchise recently, it hasn't been the characters drawing us in, and it definitely ain't the story, but the promise of entertaining and stupid action set pieces. I think we can all agree that recently they've gone a little too far. I'm not about to say Fast 5 has the most logical set pieces, however I do think the action scenes are a lot more engaging. We start off with the train robbery. It's tense and it's a nice starting point that culminates with them driving off a cliff, fiery inferno in pursuit. An action heist with cars. That description alone has me on board. Additionally, I have to highlight a word I brought up: tension. That feeling of dread when your characters are up against the odds. It's a skill. Having a character that the audience knows is safe. But at this moment, they're starting to question themselves. And if it's not the threat of death, it's a threat of losing something more personal. Tension is what the current films completely chucked out the window. Why the fuck am I watching Dom take down 200 men and then pull down a building? What am I meant to feel at this point? Fast 5 contains that tension. Dom vs Hobbs is tense. You feel Dom fighting for his freedom, his family's freedom. There's emotional tension and the film capitalizes on it. I think the final act of Fast 5 has the best connecting set pieces of action in the franchise, because the follow-up of the ambush is the most haunting thing the franchise has done. Watching the Hobbs team get picked off one by one, the feeling of hopelessness when Hobbs is trying to reach his comrade, just to see 2 grenades drop in front of him. The music does a great job of portraying that horror, especially when Reyes' men close in on Hobbs himself. These scenes help the audience accept the more outlandish parts. Obviously what I'm talking about is the vault. I don't give a damn, that scene is epic. It's creative, engaging, and satisfying to see the fall of Reyes. It's one of the biggest things the film is remembered for, and I think now that the franchise does this dumb shit on a regular, people want to look back at it in a negative light, but at the time, that was cool as hell. Now whilst I love Fast 5, rewatching Fast 5 can sometimes be a shame because it feels like the franchise took the wrong lessons from it. You can have your crazy action scenes, but there's got to be true heart to it. I think up until 7, they had that, but currently it's more about what impossible stuff can Dom do this time. It's boring, bland. And with Fast X going back to Fast 5, it can feel like the franchise is desperate to recapture the magic, but with a less interesting cast, plot, and the lack of stakes, tension, and heart. Get ready for another forgettable waste of time. Thanks for watching this video on Fast 5 and why I see it as the best in the franchise. Do you agree, or do you think there's a better film, maybe Fast 6 or 7? Leave your comments down below. We've been Overall Nerds, and peace.